Twisted Travelers Podcast, your weekly dose of theme park news and entertainment. And now, here to talk all things coasters, theme parks, and even more, here are your hosts, Jack Lathrop and Chris Jones.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Twisted Travelers Podcast. As always, I am Chris, and I am joined by my co-host, Jack. Jack, what's going on, sir?
Not much, just kind of dealing with the end of summer here. Trip report season is over, trips are over. For now, we've got some other stuff coming, but yeah, we're kind of winding down, but I've been good. How about you?
I'm doing well, already planning for next year.
Yeah, we were literally just before we started recording talking about next year and some plans, and we can't wait to fill you in on them once we know what they are.
That's right. And speaking of plans, guests come back next week. Be sure to tune in. You'll see who it is. I think he's a recognizable name. And also, real quick, before we jump into anything else, Patreon. Shout out to our patrons Bryant, Graham, Grant, Jaden, Mark, Allison and Steven, Eric, and Mikhail. If you want to join the Patreon, the link is in the description. You can get a bunch of cool perks depending on your tier. And it means you just want to give us a little bit of extra love. We always appreciate it. Don't feel obligated, but we always appreciate it when we get new patrons. It all goes back to the show. Thank you to our current patrons. And yeah, like a description.
Yep, y'all make the show possible. You make it so we can keep upping the quality of this, which the call. Oh,
speaking of,
we're a minute and 40 in, and the quality is already because I can't talk. We're working on making the quality better. Chris's microphone, mark it off your bingo boards if you're playing, is getting upgraded soon. And yeah, other stuff is happening. Also, for our patrons, you're getting Patreon episodes soon, we promise.
Yes, we'll have a guest for the Patreon episode too. So, little extra thing. And there will be 2 Patreon episodes for August because I didn't get one done in July. Few other things before we get in. Discord, go join it.
Link is down below.
Yes, follow everything we have. Link is also below. And I think that's all the plugs we needed to do for now. So, we have not a ton of news, but not a small amount. Ride of the Week is back. Welcome back to the wheel. And listener questions, and then a little bit of a list at the end of this week. So, shall we get into it?
Let's dive right in with, of course, probably the biggest news this week. Glenwood Caverns is getting a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster called Defiance. And yes, this is the record breaker.
No, it's going to Cedar Point. There's no way this is the record breaker.
They're removing Wicked Twister for a reason. Spoiler alert.
What? Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute because I have a feeling what I'm going to say won't make a lot of people too happy, but we'll see.
I think we're going to agree on it too.
Bingo board, Jack's phone going off.
Yep, phones went off.
Shout out Grant for the bingo board. But Defiance, I am very excited for this thing. Now, is it a short Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster? Yes.
But is it built on top of a 7,000-foot tall mountain? Yes.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Look, if I got the money, I'm riding this thing next year. It's already that's for sure for me. I need to ride this. So
this is definitely a ride on both of our hit lists for next summer.
100%. As if this park didn't need more reason to go.
I mean, again, did I stutter when I said roller coaster on top of 7,000-foot tall mountain?
Yes. So I know it's not the longest ride. It probably doesn't do the most, but the setting and the elements they did choose to put on it make this look like it's going to be fantastic. Now, I don't even need to talk about the setting. You know, it's in the mountains in Colorado. It's going to be great. The ride itself has a beyond vertical drop, and it's good size too. It's over 100 feet. It's got this weird tip out turn thing as its next element, and in the mock-up, it goes through that with insane speed. Now, I doubt it will do that in real life, but maybe.
It definitely looks like the first element on Hang Time at Knott's Berry Farm, but if it's taking it at the speed it's showing in the animation, it's
also is like squeezed down a bit.
It's gonna be like 20 times better than that element on Hang Time, because that element was fun because you got like some weird laterals and a pop of air at the top.
Right.
This one's gonna be even crazier.
And then you have a banana roll and a final inline twist into the brake run. So yes, it's short, but the elements they picked is definitely a winner in my opinion.
Also, as we've talked about, or Chris and I have talked about this off air, the challenge of building this roller coaster is
It's
going to be
insane.
insane. Hats off already to the guy who has to drive that semi truck up the mountain with the track behind it.
Probably multiple times.
Not to like plug other podcasts, but you can listen to other podcasts if you really want to understand how
No, you
hard it is.
can't. Only ours.
Only ours, but I'm breaking that rule. If you really want to understand how hard it is to build at Glenwood Caverns, Coaster Radio did like a huge deep dive when they built Haunted Mine Drop on how hard it was to build just that stationary drop ride. So go listen to that so you can get an appreciation for what they're going to have to do to build this 100-foot tall roller coaster on top of this mountain.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I cannot wait to see this thing actually come to fruition. And also, color scheme is heat.
Yes.
It's only going to have a lap bar, which I know in the NL2 mockup it had the Eurofighter trains, but this will have lap bars. It was confirmed in an interview. Like, look, I don't care that it's short. This thing is on the bucket list immediately when it opens.
It's basically Goliath, but on top of a mountain. It might be short and it might not do a ton, but you gotta ride it.
Exactly. Yeah, it looks fantastic. I'm super excited. I know all the Ohio people are disappointed.
What do you mean it's not going to Cedar Point?
Speaking of rides that may have a chance at going to Kings Island, Chessington is. None of y'all will get that, but well, maybe if some of y'all saw it on Twitter, but that's all good. It was, yeah. Chessington at. Okay, so we have talked about this a bit before, and I think you and me were both on team. There's no way it's a B&M.
We got to backtrack and real quick. Forgot to mention it. We definitely called the Glenwood Caverns thing on last week's episode too. So
well, it wasn't really a call.
Okay.
I just said watch it be Glenwood Caverns. I doubt it. It'll probably be something small.
We're taking it. We're counting it as a win. Just let's take that one, okay?
Look, there were people who threw it out as a wild card. It was very doubted, but it ended up happening, which is sick. I think the best possible thing that could have happened for this record-breaking Gerstlauer did happen. It went to the best place it could have, in my opinion. I would like if Cedar Point had it. I'm happier that it went to Glenwood Caverns than it did to Cedar Point. I'll say that. But yeah, back on track. Chessington. Okay, so we talked about Chessington adding something. I don't remember how long back it was this season.
It was in the spring.
Yeah. We had seen like mock-up concept art, and we knew that they were getting a coaster, and it was going to be a shuttle coaster. And it was going to be a family shuttle launch. Now, a lot of people had said it looks like a B&M wing, which it did kinda, because it had the station and it had the track style. But in other concept art, it had different track style. It didn't make sense.
Also, like shuttle B&M wing coaster, that just no. What type of track are you on?
Made
thinking
for
that
families.
could be real?
Well, it's real.
It's real. B&M is doing something over there in Switzerland, because in the last month we found out they've decided to finally go beyond vertical and build a shuttle launched wing coaster
for families.
For families with an inversion. So
now nothing has been announced, but we got more stuff, and it's pretty obvious what it is now. So
I honestly don't know how to feel about this. This is gonna be such a weird ride.
Hey, I'll take it. I'm sure it'll be sick, but it seems unnecessary to go to B&M for a family shuttle coaster when Vekoma does that all the time. Gerstlauer's done that. I'm sure Mach could do that. There's like a ton of other companies that they could go to for this. And they were like, nah. We want a B&M wing made for kids that's a shuttle launch.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be... I'm very interested to see, is it going to be just like the straight up B&M wings we know, like the standard trains, standard track, or is it going to be like a redesigned, smaller track and smaller trains? This is just weird. I'm sorry. I cannot get over just how weird this ride is going to be. And I'm saying it now. When we finally do England, we're going to Chessington because I need to ride this thing because I want to know how weird it's going to be.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that earlier. Chessington, why? Because this adds another park to do in the UK, like the first time, which costs money.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, but yeah,
Also,
bit odd.
just think there's not a B&M that goes backwards right now that I know of. They've run Batman clones backwards before, but that was like limited time. So as far as I'm aware, there's not a.
No, you are wrong. Hollywood Dream.
This is true. Okay. Yep.
But it's still different because Hollywood Dream is just a train turned around backwards. This launches forwards and back. This is
Uh-huh.
a whole other thing.
Then you're gonna like stall out and then get to go through the thing backwards. Also going upside down on a wing coaster backwards. Just let that sit in your head for a second.
Yeah.
Good props to you, Chessington. You have definitely convinced me to spend my money to go to your park.
Yeah, I would definitely like to go ride this thing whenever it opens. It's still weird edition, but hey, we'll take it. B&M is B&M. I love it. Okay, so we had like 3 really big things in news, and this is the third one, and that is Wicked Twister is being retired.
I'm just gonna go ahead
Now,
and insert the trigger warning here.
yes. So
Good
it never had.
riddance.
Well,
Go ahead.
okay, we have similar thoughts. It's just I'm going to be a bit nicer about it. So the first thing I want to say is all the Ohio people are like, "Oh, it never has a line, but it's my favorite ride. I haven't ridden it in 2 years. It's my favorite. Why are you taking it out?" But
Now,
everybody knows that.
why does that sound familiar?
Vortex. That's why.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right because you all are crazy and lined up to ride that piece of garbage.
If you live in Ohio, we're just messing with you. Don't take this personally.
But
But
also,
so Wicked Twister is a good ride. It's fine
fine.
filler. But I'm happy it's getting taken out because this opens up room and we know there's going to be expansion coming soon. Whatever their next coaster will be, I assume it's going to be over in that area. Because, Cedar Point would never take out a coaster and then not build a new one. They need that number. But yeah, my hope is Gerstlauer in the boardwalk section, like Hang Time is. GCI on the boardwalk would be cool too. They'd have to clear out more room for both of these, I think.
Well, the rumor is that Max Air is also going.
Yep, because that's been down for a long time. That would make the room work. So definitely something coming. I know a lot of people are gonna miss it, and that's fine. But I'm not. I've written it for the credit, and it means something new is coming. So yeah. But the big question is this going somewhere else, or is it getting scrapped?
Yeah. So, and I'm just gonna throw in. The last time I rode Wicked Twister was in 2019, and that was because it literally was a walk-on, and we were right there. It's like we might as well. I would never wait more than 15 minutes for that ride. It's fun, but yeah. I will say, as much as I do like the idea of a roller coaster over there, I also have to shout out Andrew Hyde's idea. I think just opening up the beachfront, maybe putting a restaurant there would be a fantastic opportunity to just increase the in-park experience a bit. Yeah, it's not a coaster, but it also would just add that like nostalgia, open the
I
beach
mean,
up
yeah,
thing.
but I don't see Cedar Point taking out a coaster, not putting one back.
I
It's
mean,
just
they've done
kind of
it.
what they do.
They've they've not done it in the past, but I could see them doing it with this, honestly.
Mm,
Especially with the part of the park that's in, because the other thing is if they build something, then they've just already locked that part of the park down again. Here's my real pipe dream. Build a boardwalk out into Lake Erie and put a roller coaster on that and put some restaurants and like carnival
I don't
games
know if
on
they could do
that.
that. That would probably take a lot more effort.
It would, but it would give them something truly unique. And I think it would be like a great draw. It just depends on are you willing to put in the effort. Also, you'd finally get that roller coaster, like out on the water, which would be sweet.
Yeah, that'd be cool, but I don't see it. Now, as far as relocation or scrapyard, who knows? I could see it going either way. If it does get relocated, I wouldn't be surprised if it's CGA from those plans we had a long time ago, which
Mhm.
seems to flip flop every year, whether they were real or not. Or I could
And
see
then
Worlds of Fun, maybe.
I mean, heck,
No,
good see it going to Michigan's Adventure.
no, don't get your hopes up, buddy.
No, I think the best it's either Scrapyard or CGA. Apparently, I haven't looked in to verify it myself, but Andrew Hyde found some like recent FAA waivers for like a 205-foot or 206-foot roller coaster going to
Hmm.
CGA, so that lines up perfectly with Wicked Twister getting moved out there. I could also easily see it being used for parts to keep Possessed at Dorney running, or sold to Six Flags to keep Flash and Vertical Velocity
You
running.
forgot about Steel Venom.
Oh, and still Venom.
It'll probably be Cedar Fair. There you
Probably,
go.
yeah. So, but it's either going to CGA or it's getting scrapped and used for parts on the other two.
Yeah.
It was
So
always meant to be a filler coaster, and it was always meant to be a distraction from the giant McDonald's they were building in the middle of the park.
that's right. Rip Wicked Twister. That's all good though. So, a couple more things. Stunt Pilot and Jersey Devil are closed due to flying wheel assemblies. Now, I haven't looked too much into this. I just know they're both closed because RMC said so. What happened?
So basically, it looks like one of the side wheels. Why am I forgetting the guide wheels? That's their actual name. On Stunt Pilot was not properly fastened or tightened down right, and they forgot to put the pin that holds it, like should keep it from flying away, in back in. So basically, it was just not properly attached, from what I can tell, and it flew off during the ride.
Oh,
RMC's got them closed as a precaution. This is my opinion. This was probably just a very stupid maintenance mistake that should not have happened.
hmm,
Part of the new Gen Raptor trains was they were trying to make them easier to repair. So instead of like the wheel assembly being one solid piece, it was multiple pieces so they could swap parts out easier as they wore out and work on them. And I'm assuming that's what happened. This train was off for like maintenance one night. They took the wheel assembly off and were working on it. Put it back on, tightened the bolt back down, forgot to torque it to the right amount. And then over the day, as it was, running through the layout, it just slowly worked its way off and flew off at some point during the day. So the good news is, with it being Stunt Pilot, they're 15 minutes from RMC and it should be fixed soon.
hmm, yeah. So, shouldn't be a big deal. I didn't know too much about it, but yeah, that happened apparently. So, cool. This is a minor thing, but it's something that we rode recently, and that is Pearly Whirly Coaster at Craig's Cruisers in Michigan. The hamster wheel is gone. It only operated for less than a whole season, and they took it out. It was causing too many problems, apparently, according to like the worker at the desk. So, rip Pearly Whirly Coaster hamster wheel. I'm glad we got to ride it when we did.
Yeah, it was just what you sent this to me today. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we got to ride it. It was a unique experience, to say the least. If you want to hear our full thoughts on it, it's our Michigan adventure so far, which is like 3 or 4 episodes ago now. Hard to believe that was like a month ago already.
Do I need to go through how time works again with you?
No. Please no. Even though that was hilarious and had me rolling in my bed at like whatever hour of the night that was.
Mm, okay. Last two things. Fun Spot RMC revealed more photos of the concept, and that is the stall and the whole second half almost, other than the turnaround, which is indeed just a lot of airtime like we wanted it to be, which makes me very happy. Uh, it it's pretty much what we were expecting at this point, and that's like the best possible thing they could have done. So you've got Goliath stall and Twisted Timbers airtime, which is exactly what we said when they first
Yep, this
had the
is
leaked permits.
like there's not
Thank
much
you.
to talk about here. It's just, yeah, we're getting what we want in this roller coaster, and our hype for it continues to go up.
That's right. I cannot wait for this thing to open. If they do an Atlanta Stumble, I will be there. Either way, I'm gonna ride this thing. I
I
need
was
to
gonna
go get
say,
my Six Flags membership. So there you have it, people. This thing's gonna be amazing. And our last thing, Tato Park has Vekoma Family Coaster Trek on site. This is not the inverted boomerang doohickey that they were going to do with the two sides. That might still happen, but this is a separate coaster. Glad they're beginning to build something with all the locals who are Karens, it seems like.
Yeah. So, I mean, not much to talk about with this, but new roller coaster. So, sweet.
Good for them. Reason to go to Ireland more. All right. That was news. We went on maybe a little bit longer than we needed to go on
Yeah, I
for,
think
but
we kind of just tangented there with Defiance and
we did have 3 big news stories.
yeah, we did have 3 big ones. But moving into a segment that we're bringing back from the Almost Dead because we forgot about it for like the entire summer. It's Ride of the Week.
That's right. I mean, I didn't forget about it. We just had a lot of good ideas and never talked about it. But
Yeah,
it's back.
We have like ideas for this that we're going to do in the future, but then as we were doing trip reports, we were talking and reviewing so many rides as it was.
That's right, yeah.
It like made no sense to keep doing Ride of the Week, but it's back and we're doing CCIs.
That's right. So there are only 4, I believe 4 CCIs that I have been on. And that's what the 4 we're doing. I think you've been on more than me, probably.
I have.
But yeah, so the 4 we're doing is Raven at Holiday World, Legend at Holiday World, Shivering Timbers at Michigan's Adventure, and Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm, whether that's a GCI or a CCI. It's a CCI for now. You can have your opinion, but for the wheel, it's a CCI. So that it can fit.
The one the one notable one that I've written that's not on here is Rampage.
Right. But I mean, I've got 4, you've got 5, might as well do the 4 that we both
And
do.
I'm getting 6 and 7 in a month.
That's right. We talked about that recently. Go back to that episode, trip announcements. I think no, that was another episode. You announced that.
Definitely another episode. I still don't know if I'm allowed to say what days or not yet, but I can tell you it's before you get to see it in Texas.
There you go. But so yeah, you ready?
Yeah,
the wheel is ready.
The wheel is ready. It's been a minute since we spun the wheel.
And spinning. Dun, 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 dun. It is Raven.
I'll start with the weak one, even though it's really not that weak. But
none of these are weak.
None of these are weak, but one of them's got to be the bottom, and this is probably it for me.
I'll let you go first, but same.
Yeah, it's right. Okay, so here's the thing about Raven. I've never ridden this during the day, so I actually don't know the layout at all. I just know I get on it at night and just let my body flail into whoever's next to me. Was it you this year or was it someone else?
It was me.
It was you. Yeah, I flailed into Chris this year. I've ridden it by myself before. That was a mistake. My back hurt a lot after like flying over the edge of the seat multiple times. But Raven is just kind of nutty, crazy. Shouldn't be as insane as it is, but it is. And I actually kind of never want to ride it in the day because it's super magical to get on it and still have no clue what it does, even after having been riding it for 3 years.
Yeah. So, Raven. I have done it in the day. That's one thing. I've probably done it equal amount in the day and at night. This year, I think I rode it like 8 times total at Hollywood Nights between the 2 days. But yeah, so if you ride in the back, that drop is phenomenal. You get a ton of good floater on the way down. And then you've got some good floater the rest of the way until you hit that turn over the lake, which gives you a ton of laterals. Then you've got the massive hill in the middle of the ride where you get a ton of airtime on the drop off. And then from there, it just goes crazy laterals and little pops the rest of the way to the brake run. It ends probably super prematurely because it has so much speed going into it, but like I kind of like it because you just fly.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, like every time I hit the brake run, it's like they could have thrown another helix or airtime hill or 2 or 3 in, and it would have still been chugging into the brakes because you just you hit the brakes and it feels like your whole body goes sideways and you just feel like the whole train is like tipping to the right as it skids to a halt.
Yeah, like I mean, they probably could have added more in, but I kind of like the way it is just because it doesn't have a chance to slow down. You are guaranteed to fly that entire ride no matter when you ride it. But yeah, so it is the weakest CCI I have done. And that's not to say
not
it's bad
saying
at
much.
all.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's. So I guess I'm just gonna drop this now because it will we're gonna talk about CCIs for the next 4 weeks or 3 from here on. CCI is like probably my favorite manufacturer just because all of their rides do just things that should not be possible, it feels like. And this one just holds its speed so well and just does stuff that I don't know because again, never ridden it in the day.
Right. Yeah.
But every time I ride it, I'm laughing the entire time and just
That's any CCI. All 4 of these keep their speed super well. This one is just shorter than all the others. That's the reason why it's not as good as the other 3, in my opinion. It's super good, but it's just short, which once again, I kind of like that for some reasons, but then when we talk about the other 3, you kind of see how if it was longer, it might be even better.
Yeah, you
Who
look
knows?
at
We will
2
never
of
know.
these are both in the 4,000 feet of track range, and then you have one that's the 4th longest wooden roller coaster on the planet, and it's in the top 10 longest top 10 longest coasters in general.
Yeah. So, Raven, you're pretty good. Even though you're the weakest on here, you're still amazing.
I mean, okay, so if we're gonna if we were giving these scores out of 10, Raven gets a 9.
8 for me. 3 of these get 8s, 2 of them get 9.
That math doesn't
Nope,
work.
2 of them get 8, 2 of them get 9. My bad.
Do I need to explain counting?
No, I know how to do that. I just misspoke.
And that's just like I know how time works. I just don't care.
Yeah. So, Ride of the Week. Welcome back.
We'll be back next week with another CCI.
That's right. All right. Listener questions. You guys came with a lot this week. Once again, join the Discord. That is where we get all of our questions from every week. Link is in the description. And we just have good conversations. We add channels. Now, we have. So yeah, let's get into it. First question. This is from Klaus. What are Jack's opinions on desserts?
So the context behind this is I am a picky eater.
Oh, no way.
Oh yeah, no way, right? We don't need to get into all of that because that we could literally do a whole hour-long podcast on my being a picky eater. Desserts, I'm more open to. The big ones are the big kickers for me are if it has nuts in it, I cannot eat it because I am allergic to all tree nuts. The only nut I'm not allergic to is peanut butter or peanuts and peanut butter. But my kind of hot take is I'm not a big fan of peanut butter or peanuts in dessert. Reese's are not my thing. Just I've never cared for them. I know it's a hot take. Just not my thing. So
Right. So we debated this in the Discord, actually, the peanut butter thing. And there's not a ton of examples of peanut butter in desserts that I know of. I mean, Reese's is obvious, and Bryant says that candy doesn't count. But I have to disagree simply because of layered cheesecake with a peanut butter layer, or just
and
cheesecake
that
with
might
peanut butter in it, which
be
is very
the
good.
one exception I have. It's not going to be my first choice, but if I had to have something with peanut butter in it, it would be a cheesecake or something like that.
Right.
So.
But I have to disagree just because of that one, at least. And Reese's aren't my go-to candy, but I'm not going to deny it either. They're pretty good.
It's not my thing.
So Jack's bad food takes.
I don't feel like that one's as
No,
awful
it's
as
not.
my other ones.
It's just fun to pick on you.
I know it is.
All
I
right.
pick on myself, so
Yes.
yeah. Okay, this one makes me laugh. Describe a coaster using only one-syllable words, and the other person has to try and guess which coaster you're describing. This is from Allison. My joke in the Discord was tall, fast, long. Good luck.
King Dakar.
No.
Fury.
Nope.
Top Toe Dragster.
Nope.
Voyage.
Nope.
Millennium Force.
Nope.
Orion.
Nope.
Leviathan.
Nope.
Well.
So you'll get a kick out.
Intimidator 305.
No.
Oh, dang it.
You'll get
Okay.
a kick out of this one. It's actually, I'm realizing now it's not as tall, as fast, or as long as I thought it was. I was thinking of Flight of the Himalayan Eagle music roller coaster.
How would I have gotten that one? There's so much more tall, fast, long.
Again, I just said it's not as tall, fast, or long as I initially
Why was
thought
that
it
the
was.
one you chose?
I don't know. I feel like we talk about that roller coaster randomly all the time,
Okay.
and so it just
Well,
popped in my head.
I have one that I think is actually okay. And I
Okay.
think you should be able to get this. I think. Okay.
Okay.
Wood, fruit, punch, tree, fair. Oh, wait, no. Hold on. Fair chain, not wood fair. Fair chain.
Hold. Huh?
Wood,
Wood.
fruit, punch, fair chain.
Fair chain. Wood. Fruit. Twisted Timbers.
No.
Okay, no, no, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it.
Oh gosh, you might have to cut out stuff depending on how long you take.
Wood, fruit, punch,
Fruit punch.
like the drink. Fair chain.
We're gonna be here a while.
We are. I'm gonna need another word.
um,
Wood, fruit, punch, fair chain.
I don't think you're gonna get it.
I'm determined though. I need give me another word.
I gotta think of one.
We can cut some of this out.
um,
Wood, fruit, punch. Have I ridden it?
yes.
That's even more depressing.
I feel like if I give you the next word, it'll just give it away.
What is it?
Ghost.
Oh. Okay, fruit punch. I was
See?
like, okay.
Fair chain, Cedar Fair. Cedar is 2 syllables. It's fair. It's like the fair chain, the one with fair in it. You got it?
Yeah, it's Ghost Your Eyes.
There you go. The
Okay.
fruit punch should have been the thing that gave it away.
The fruit punch threw me off though, because I was starting to think of like rides that had like some sort of theme with a fruit.
That was the
Which
only
is-
way I could get like Knott's Berry Farm.
Okay, I'm gonna try to think of one that's like legit. Bird, tree, hill.
Wild Eagle.
Yep.
That one was easy.
Yep.
I know your brain, of course you're gonna think of Wild Eagle.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually that could be an interesting thing to play
Thank you,
with.
Allison.
Yeah, that's that might provide hours of entertainment.
There you go. All right. Next question. What's one flat ride that you've refused to go on? And this is from Grant. I can't think of a specific example. I'll just say some fair rides that look sketch.
Yeah, sketchy fair rides like that. There's not like a model I wouldn't do. None of that stuff affects me any. But like if it looks like I'm not gonna go to a carnival and ride. Sorry, I
Not
don't have a
flat
death
rides,
wish.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a quick one. This
Yep.
one's from Bryant. Who would win in a race between the two of you, both a 100-meter dash and a mile?
I don't know my 100-meter time off the top of my head, actually.
I don't know. I think I would win 100-meter. Mile would be more up in the air.
What's your mile time? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. I've never timed myself. I just know that I'm pretty fast.
The last time I timed myself, and this has been 2 years ago, because I hate running. It's makes me actually hate myself. It's a long story, but the last time I ran, I could do a mile in about 6:25, and then my half mile, like full sprint, I can do in about 2.5. So, but
I'm pretty fast.
I don't like running. So honestly, I would just forfeit
So
because
forfeit, I win. There we go.
yeah,
There
Chris
you go,
can win
Bryant. I won.
because I do not care for running.
I won, Bryant. Okay. Next question from Klaus. What are your favorite cue lines to wait in? And by the way, both Klaus and Bryant's question here were supposed to be for last week. They just got buried in conversation. Sorry, guys. But yeah, so Klaus's question, what are your favorite cue lines to wait in?
Hagrid's definitely is one of my favorite. I love Hulk's queue. You're gonna see a theme of what park I like waiting in queues at.
Well, the next one I'm sure is on my list too, and that's Velocicoaster.
Velocicoaster, Mummy,
Yes, Mummy.
Gringotts.
I'm
You're
trying to
seeing
think of different ones.
in terms of just pure hype for like the roller coaster is all around you. It is hard to be in line for Steel Vengeance and not get excited.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some others.
And there are certain rides like that they don't have that charm anymore. But like the first time or the first couple times were huge.
Oh, well,
Like I
yeah.
remember early on, like standing in line for Lightning Rod, looking out the windows and just watching it shoot up the hill was huge. Of course, 250 something rides later, it doesn't have the same effect on me anymore.
Right.
Um,
Look, if it's a universal queue, it's great. So
yeah, Universal's going to take the cake. I'm trying to think of rides outside of Universal and Disney.
Everest is pretty good. I know you haven't done it, but yeah, outside of Disney, Verbolten's a solid. As far as the whole thing, Cobra's Curses.
Yeah, Kerber's Curve is decent. I wish I'd gotten to see the pre-show. Remember, it was
Yeah.
broken that day.
Mhm. Oh, Dragsters. There you go.
Yes, Dragsters
Just for
is
pure
another
hype.
one of those that's just like you're sitting there and those engines are just cutting through you, and then just watching those trains repeatedly take off down that track.
Right. Even
Millennium
though
Force is another good one.
yes,
Standing on the bridge, just watching it fly by.
yeah. Even though it's smaller, Twisted Timbers has the Steel Vengeance effect to some
Mhm.
extent. But yeah,
Uh,
that's a good bunch.
there's a ton of rides that are like, oh yeah, this is a cool queue to wait in.
Oh, Time Traveler is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, Time Travelers with the view out the window. Wildfire's queue is sweet. That's actually a really good themed queue.
Hmm.
I could go on, just keep naming like random ones.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good
Okay,
bunch.
here's a just kind of, I'm stealing this question and making it like my own real quick. Favorite coaster with the worst queue? Fury 325.
I
That is the
mean,
most
that has
boring,
the hype level to
uninspiring
some
queue. But
extent.
but you can barely see any of the ride from that queue. You can see the lift hill and the last airtime hill, and that's it. That queue is so boring to wait in, but it's bearable because you know what you're waiting for.
Yeah. What else is bad for queues? Oh, whatever. We can go on for this for a while, but
Bad queue. There's another one that I always think about when I think of like that's just like, oh, Banshee's queue. Again, you've got the ride all around you, but that queue is depressing if you have to wait through the entire thing because it is nothing but cattle pins.
yeah, I could see that.
And if I've waited through that entire queue,
Hmm. All right. I think we're good for the next one.
yep.
What is your favorite coaster type or model right now, and what would you say is your favorite of all time since you became an enthusiast? There's a lot that I could say here. So right now, probably Intamin Blitzes and multi launches
Yeah.
because I've ridden Velocicoaster and Maverick recently, and I love both of those a lot.
I'd have the same answer. It's so hard because I feel like my favorite model is just whatever's hot right now. So like the Intimate multi launches are definitely hot. All time, I guess just really basic. I will always love a good traditional wooden roller coaster. So a CCI, old Din, something like that. There
Oh,
are some.
Din, that is
There are
so
some.
stupid.
There's some garbage Dins, but there's
What do
a
you mean?
couple.
Most of them are. Name a good Din. Timberwolf is okay. Thunder Run is okay. There is not a good one.
Yeah, he makes a valid point actually.
There
Now that
is
I'm
not a
thinking
good
about
Din, sir.
it, yeah. I mean, the Beast, if you want to argue,
No, that
since,
doesn't count.
but
No.
no, just good traditional wooden roller coaster. So CCIs, GCIs, gravity groups, stuff like the Beast. I love that.
Yeah.
I always find myself going back to those.
I gotta give a shout out to 3 more. First off, Mock Extreme Spinner. I've only
Yep.
ridden one of the 2, but they're amazing. The one I've done,
Yeah, that's definitely.
obviously. And then 2 for sure. When I first got into this, my favorite model was B&M Hyper because you can't go wrong with one, as Theme Park Crazy would say. But then also, my first 2 new coasters I rode as an enthusiast that I was super hyped for were Goliath at Over Georgia and Mako. So that was like my thing. And then also, even though they're not going to make the top 25s, there's only one in my top 25 of this type. Inverts are just classic fun that
Mm.
are always amazing. And when you ride the fast ones, or if you catch them on a good day, they can be an otherworldly experience.
Yeah, the inverts are kind of, if you look at them, once you've ridden one, you've kind of ridden all of them. But if you catch them on the day where they're doing things that shouldn't be possible, Over Georgia's on that
And
fateful
Montu,
day,
like 1 week a year.
they are some next level craziness. Like, I'm already fully planning on going back to Over Georgia this January just so I can marathon Batman that day.
If you're going over Georgia, you have to ride Goliath a lot.
I
That's
mean,
the ride for that park for me. I know their Batman's fast, but Goliath is just amazing.
Goliath is great. Twico is great.
Twice I,
Twico,
sir.
twice I. Sorry, there's a lot of twisted. But hey, do you know what 2 RMCs have the word steel in them? At Taylor Bybee, forgetting about Steel Vengeance.
I mean, I know Medusa Steel Coaster, but yeah.
I'm having that printed on a t-shirt. I am not. I'm literally, the invitation I got says formal attire, and I'm gonna show up wearing a t-shirt that says, "What other roller coaster has steel in its name?"
But okay. Well, that was from a Kyle. If I hadn't said, we got 2 more questions. So this one is from Grant. Rumor has it that Gold Pass is back for yet another season at Cedar Point for just $99 plus fees. How long do you see this being a thing for the foreseeable future? And will the effects of Gold Pass on guest experience, like crowds and Fastlane, affect sales for the whole park? Um, so as far as affecting sales, I mean, obviously Gold Pass is something that's pretty cheap and easy for people to buy. As long as it's making the park money, I see it here to stay. And it's Cedar Point. It has enough fanboys that I don't see this dropping off their usual, amount of guests that come. As frustrating as Gold Pass can be, it makes them a good amount of money, and they're still going to have people come. They're Cedar Point.
Yeah. So here's my business tangent on this, and Chris hit on the points. I'm just going to expand on them. It's a $99 pass. That's a
People are going
price
to go.
point that is super affordable for a family of 4, because that's $500 for the entire family to go to Cedar Point as much as they want. And then you start looking at day tickets and all of this. And if you're going for more than 2 days, we'll just get a gold pass because it's going to pay itself off and all of these benefits. The problem with the gold pass, it's not that it's available, it's that it's available in unlimited quantities. They'll sell as many of them as they possibly can and make as much money off of it as possible. The problem with that is, it's at what point do you, when you sell too many of them, it starts affecting your overall guest experience, because you can just get your gold pass and you can go to the park as much as you want, and the parks are crowded. And of course, you look at the $99 price, and it's like, well, how do they make money off of that? They're not making a ton of money off the pass. They're making money off every time you go to the park and want food, and oh, they've got a new t-shirt I want and stuff like that. And that's how they're making the money with these gold passes. But again, it goes back to this guest experience situation. At what point have they sold too many, and will Cedar Fair ever say we have sold too many and cap it?
I
It's the
doubt
same
it.
thing as Fastlane Plus. They have actually recognized that mistake, and they've upped the price of Fastlane Plus to $250. but the damage is done for this year because you could have pre-bought it at the cheaper price. So the
Right.
damage is done with Fastlane for this year. But it's at what point do you cap it so the guest experience matters versus your income? Because Cedar Fair, especially pandemic, post-pandemic, and I can't blame them for this, has been in a let's make money because we had to keep some of our parks closed for all of 2020 and some of 2021. And you're also having to look at the fact that they're starting to pay people more, which is a good thing. But from a business point of view, it's also a bad thing because that's less money you have on hand to run your park and reinvest. So you have to find ways to make more money so you can continue investing. So basically, all that's to say, I think Gold Pass is a great idea, but it's will Cedar Fair ever admit that they need to cap how many they sell?
Well, as far as guest experience versus profit goes, uh, when you have another chain straight up false advertising for 2 years straight, and then not opening their rides, I don't think that's great for guest satisfaction, but they're still doing just fine. So if you want to follow an example, I don't see why they would stop.
Yeah, also shout out to BGW Insiders on that amazing Pantheon article. If you haven't read it, you should go read it. I'll drop the link in the description.
Everything they said was true.
Yep.
But yeah, so last question from Mikhail. How many times a day does Jack get people tagging him about spaghetti?
It's not as much as a daily thing, but it feels like when someone tags me, then everyone starts tagging me. So on the days it gets brought up 4 or 5 times, but then I'll go 2 or 3 days without hearing about it. For example, today I've heard it from Perry. Chris's recording to name tonight in Vencaster is spaghetti. And yeah, and it's been brought up in the TDR server today. So it's been brought up 3 or 4 times today, but then we'll go a couple days without hearing about it. So
there you have it. He needs to try spaghetti. Okay. So we have a bit of a list to end you guys off, and that is top 10 ride experiences. This idea came from our friend Bryant. Now, this is different than your top 10 rides or anything like that. This is like what made a ride that you had on a ride special, and why is it such a great overall experience. So, like, if you see a coaster that's not even in our top 50 on here, obviously something else had to have made that moment really special for it to get up here, which is what we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm. I will say, looking at my list, a lot of these rides are in my top 50, top 25, but I think that's just because good coaster usually leads to good experience, and then there's other factors that play into it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. I'm going to kick it off with an honorable mention that I wrote down initially, but I don't really count it because we're calling it like ride experience, and I think that means complete experience. So my honorable mention is my rollback on Lightning Rod. That was something I'd wanted to happen for a long time, and I was in the right seat, so I got the full experience of the rollback, and it was a super awesome thing to happen. But in the grand scheme of things, it would not pass any of these on this list, and it was a rollback. So
yeah. All right. So should I kick us off?
Go for it.
All right. Number 10 for me is my first ever ride on Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. Now, I think this is going to be special for pretty much everybody, but waiting in an hour-long line for something so massive and intimidating as a new enthusiast, and then getting to ride it is definitely something special. Anybody who's ridden it will probably say the same thing. Getting launched 120 miles an hour, 400 feet in the air is just an amazing first experience, no matter how you put it.
This is okay. I just gotta cut into this. This is hilarious because I'm working on a project right now that will get announced down the line. And part of that is I'm actually writing description notes for some roller coasters. And so the opening line of one of these is every enthusiast knows the feeling. Ready to go by Republica is blaring as your train rolls forward into the position. Engines rev, shaking your whole body as the voice says, arms down, head back, and hold on. The train rolls back ever so slightly as the brake fins drop, and the Christmas tree goes yellow, 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 green. And if that does not make you excited, you are in the wrong hobby.
Yeah, it's a good experience, no matter what. It's Dragster.
Yeah, Dragster is, yeah. Okay, so mine aren't in like a particular order, honestly, because actually I probably should put these in order. I will put them in order. Okay. So this one's gonna be, I think, gonna be surprise people. It's at 10, but it's been so long, and that is my first ride on Lightning Rod. It's Lightning Rod. It's one of my favorite roller coasters of all time. It's definitely the roller coaster I have like the strongest emotional connection to, and it was an experience. We had waited through months of delays and issues, and I remember vividly sitting outside of the ride's entrance during soft opening for 4 hours, just waiting on them to say you can go ride. And we got in there, and they took us up, and I think my dad and I were in row 5. And getting on this ride, having only ridden like 20 roller coasters at the time, just it was something unreal. Like, we both hit the brakes, and it's like, what just happened? I need to do that again. And then our second ride was in the front row, and even then we were really like, what? And it's just one of those roller coasters I would give a lot to get to go back and re-experience it in 2016 specifically for the first time. But that first ride on Lightning Rod on May 25th, 2016 was a day I will never forget.
I mean, everybody knew this was going to be on the list.
Yeah. I mean, that one was inevitable.
Mm-hmm. So, I might have that on here as well. You'll see. Number 9 is marathoning Steel Vengeance. That happened literally this year. That was one of the best days you could have possibly had at Cedar Point. We got 10 rides on it total, and we had like a 6-ride marathon. Trip Report Part 3, I believe it is. Quick plug. That's the one where we talked about that. But getting to ride one of the best coasters in the world that usually has a forever long line and just marathoning it over and over and over again is not something you usually get to do. So that's definitely on the list.
Yeah, that was I didn't put that one on here, but that was definitely an experience. We got 10 rides that day. It was ridiculous and amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my number 9. This happened at Kings Island preview pass holder preview day last year. So we were doing the park. Orion had opened. It had a stupid long line. We'd ridden things. I'd taken pictures, and we were kind of disappointed because the park wasn't open late, so no Beast night rides. But we were like, we'll go get a Beast sunset ride, and that'll be our last ride of the day before we head home. Get up to the station, walk in. There's no one there. Walk right in, sit down in the front row, and they closed the gates. And I turned to my dad, and I'm like, there's no one else on this train. And so number 9 for me is my Beast Zen ride with my dad. And I remember this just vividly. I told him as we rolled out of the station, it's like, we're not going to talk. We're not going to make any noise. We're just going to sit here. And for 4.5 minutes, we just got to sit on the Beast and just hear that ride just groan and run. And just, it was an amazing experience. Front row at sunset. Just an insane moment. And also, it's the Beast. When do you get a Zen ride on the Beast? And so this is one of those moments that's like, I'll never forget that. And it was awesome. So Beast Zen ride for me.
Yeah, I can see it. That is definitely something that's rare. I had 2 Zen rides that I was thinking about it, but just didn't make the cut, and that was Rain Ride on Wildfire at Silver Dollar City, Zen Ride, and Flight of Fear at Kings Island. But these other ones I just had to put in front. But Zen rides are always special.
That was the only Zen ride I included on mine, and the only reason that one made the cut is because it was the Beast.
Yeah, I can see it. Number 8 for me is actually 2 rides, but I just have to mention them together. And that is first rides on Rise of the Resistance and Guardians of the Galaxy. These 2 completely blew me away. I wasn't really expecting it from Guardians, and I ended up having a fantastic time at the Disneyland Resort, mainly because of these 2 rides. That's a very big part of it. Absolutely mind blown after both of these 2. So I have to include these. I know Jack hasn't ridden Rise yet, and I think his mind will be even more blown than mine when he does.
Probably.
But both of these, fantastic. I had such a good time on both of them.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about including flat rides. Guardians, Cars, and Smuggler's Run are all top contenders for me, but I just kept mine to roller coasters for
These
this
are the
list.
only two flats or dark rides that you will see on my list.
Yeah, I could have probably put Cars, Radiator Springs Racers on here, but that's a whole just emotional thing. I just didn't even think about including rides like that, to be honest, though. So,
Mhm.
okay, a ride that happened this year that a lot of you were very much looking forward to happening. Number 8 was the El Toro Redemption ride.
I can see it.
That was a moment that was 4 years in the making, and a lot of people yelling and complaining to me about I was crazy. And so Bryant and I had back row on El Toro, and you can go look at his Twitter to see the exact quote I said after I got off, because I will not repeat it on this show. But I will say this, going down that drop, I knew going down to drop how wrong I had been for 4 years. And when we hit the Rolling Thunder Hill, then I really knew how wrong I had been. So El Toro Redemption ride, it was also just hilarious because we hit the brakes, and I swear every single head on that train, because we knew pretty much everyone on the train, every single head just turned and stared at me. So
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think of it, but I should have known that this was going to be on here. I didn't put El Toro on here purposely or personally. Uh, I mean, we'll talk about El Toro more at the end of the year for rankings, but yeah, I can see it. It's a great ride, and you had special reason.
yeah, these are not like oh, this is my new number one or anything. This is just one of those, like, that was a ride that had been
Well, some
like,
of these can be that, but
some of them, yes, hint hint, wink wink, wait till the end of the season. But like, this ride was one of those that had been like 4 years in the making, and people yelling at me constantly about it, so it was
right.
kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm. All right. Number 7 for me also happened this year. Just like 2 of the 3 that we've done so far. So this will be 3 or 4. That is just sitting on Skyrush back left 4 or 5 rides straight. My legs were screaming at me, and I was being just viciously thrown and twisted and hung from every which direction for a while without moving. So it was a bit painful, but it's one of the best rides in the world, and it had no line, and I was in the magic seat, and I just stayed there. That's special.
Yeah. I'm gonna switch this one actually. Okay, this one also happened this year. For me, number 7 is our front row night ride on Maverick.
Yes.
Yeah, that ride, again, you can go listen to Trip Report Part 3 for like the full thing, but that ride in particular, it wasn't like the back row crazy, but front row at night, especially the moment that sticks out for me, is hitting that second launch and
Mm-hmm.
having no clue how long it's going to go on, and you're just going, 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 and then all of a sudden, yunk, as you go flying to the left out of that tunnel. Just stupid fun. That ride is
Mm-hmm.
just stupid fun, especially at night, especially in the front row.
I think you guys can kind of predict that Maverick went up in both of our rankings for the end of the year. You'll once again you'll see at the end of the year. But yeah, I didn't put that on this list. But that was definitely special. Getting 10 rides on during the day and then the front row night ride. And yes, the second launch where you just have the green lights from the LSMs, the only thing down the tunnel, everything is black except for that, and then yoink to the side. Yeah, that was a good time.
And I'm just going to throw it out there now because we keep saying I didn't put that on the list. There are so many good experiences we've had on coasters. Picking this list was stupid hard.
Yes, it was. It was very hard. All right. Number 6, dueling on Twisted Colossus. So now it helps that my first ride, without dueling, had already blown my brain into bits.
By
And
first
then,
ride, you mean first lap.
yes, first lap. And then the second lap, to be on the lift hill, seeing the other train hitting the airtime hills, getting the hype. It's a little behind, but they slow our side down. Then their side catches up, or even almost perfectly. and you know you're going to get that duel. You go through, and it continues to blow your mind. But now you're also looking at another train underneath you, above you, to the side of you. Yeah, that ride. Oh, look, I feel like I've talked and hyped this ride a lot since I've ridden it, and I think people are still
Mm-hmm.
going to be surprised where I rank it. But just know that this is a ridiculous coaster.
Yeah, again, saying I didn't include any of my duels on Twisted Colossus, but I think I got 6 or 7 of them at night back in 2019. And the feeling of like those trains just sinking up on the lift hill and everyone's going nuts, especially when I did it with all coaster enthusiasts because we were there for CoasterCon ERT, and just every single ride we got on it was dueling, and the feeling of just that train hits the lift and it's right there next to you and you drop and everyone goes nuts and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number 6 for me. This one had to make an appearance. My first ride on Wild Eagle at Dollywood, the roller coaster that got me into coasters, the ride that got me where I am today. This list wouldn't exist without this one. I don't put it at number 1 because there are other things that are more special to me, but I would not be here without that ride on Eagle. So it has to be on here.
Another one that definitely expected to be on here. Obviously, that would be there. Number 5 for me was my first back row ride on Time Traveler. And like we said earlier, this is an example of you realize you have a new number 1. Now, I mean, I think my first back row ride, it wasn't my number 1 yet, but that had boosted it from top 10 to top 5. It took a few rides for me to realize, hey, this thing is actually that good. But that was the first ride where I ended up having an existential crisis on the brake run, and that happened every single time for the rest of the day. So there you
Yeah, I
go.
remember calling you after you rode this for the first time, or I think I called you or you called me, and you were just like, I don't know what to expect. And then as the day went on, I kept getting texts. It's like,
Yep.
dude, you don't understand. Dude. And then by the end of it, it's like, it's my new number 1. I was like,
Yeah, the text got more and more intense after each ride. I remember it like the first phone call after I got off it for the first time. I was like, "It's top 10. I don't know where to put it yet." It
I'm gonna go ride Outlaw.
yeah,
I think that was
and that's exactly what I said. And then the second ride, I was like, "Whoa, it's way better in the back." And then probably by the fifth or sixth rides, it was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good, it's so good." And then
yeah, I
by the
remember.
eighth, ninth, and 10th, it was just getting to all caps. What the heck am I experiencing? I am so confused.
I remember. I don't remember if it was the day of or if this was like a couple days later. But you were just telling me it's like your sister was saying like your reaction. It can't not be your number 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the text got more intense as the day went on. That's how I knew.
It was. I think that was one of those few rides I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a prediction of where it's gonna end up in his rankings. And it took me about half an hour to just have to crumple it up and throw it in the garbage can because I was wrong.
Yeah.
I guessed 6. If I know, I think I've told you that, but I guessed it would end up at 6.
Yeah.
So okay, 5 for me is the All Dogs ride on Voyage from Hollywood Nights 2020. Sloan, you are a madman, and I love you for this. How do you not like? This is just one of those moments. It's like, what are we doing with our lives? We're dressed up in dog masks on Voyage at midnight. Huh? I rode back. No, I was in row 11 with Joe. Go listen to that episode. And then I had Marcus and Blake Larson behind me in row 12. And I had a stupid amount of room. Yeah, that was a ride. That was something I will never forget. And I made some really good friends that night too. So
I'll talk about Voyage in a few minutes. But yeah, this year we did the dog masks on Legend and Raven, which was cool, but it ain't Voyage. So I can definitely see it. Number 4 for me was hitting my 300th on X2 with Klaus. And the reason why this is so high is just because of the anticipation that I had with this ride, knowing somebody who has it ranked as highly as they do, hearing about it so much, and just
Pretty
my own interest in it.
much daily. Let's not lie.
Yeah. So here's one thing that I'll say is that before either of us ever got to ride X2, I definitely was already more hyped for it than Jack.
Yep, this
Uh,
is very true.
yes, I didn't know if I was going to be able to make X2 or Skyrush my 200. And so I was talking to Jack. I was like, if I go to Magic Mountain, do I want to make X2 200? Because, it's like historic. It could be awesome, or I could end up hating it, or do I want to make it Twisted Colossus? And he was like, I don't know. X2 is probably going to be okay. And he didn't really have much for
Yeah.
it. And then he
I'm
wrote
just
it.
gonna jump in. We're just gonna do this one together because my number 4 is my first ride on X2 as well.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, I remember going into this thing. I was like, I'm gonna hate this. I'm either gonna like it, and it'll be like, oh, maybe I'll ride once or twice, or I'm gonna hate it. And then going up that lift hill, it was the first time and the only time since riding Wild Eagle that I'd ever had like butterflies in my stomach, on a roller coaster, and just back row flipping and heading down that drop. It was something else, and that whole ride is demented and something else,
Right.
and truly one of the most insane things ever created. And yeah,
Having all that hype for it, hitting it as a major milestone with Klaus in the front row was something special. Definitely. Anything to add before we move to number 3?
It's been too long, and I need to ride it again.
Well, you could have came with me, but you didn't. Number 3.
You saw how expensive those flights were.
I'm kidding. Number 3 is one that you better have on your list, and that is the graduation ride.
It is. It's number 2 on my list,
Well,
but we'll get to that.
Yes. So, as far as the graduation stuff or whatever it goes for, I don't care. I was ready to be done with graduation and all that, and I'm very happy I am. I was tired of the robe and the gown and the cap, all that. But I'm very happy that we got to skip the line, get front row at night, and then it was way better in front row than I remembered it being. So everything kind of went right there. It was fantastic. Voyage is amazing. I love the ride, and I'm glad we got to skip that huge line.
God, yes. Yeah, graduation. I'll talk about in just a minute, so we'll continue that in a second. Number 3 for me is the most recent one to occur on this list, and that was first ride on Velocicoaster. I think we both saw this one coming. Chris got to see my reaction firsthand. Yeah, that was definitely one of the most insane moments I've ever had as a roller coaster enthusiast. And it's so hard not to spoil, but as far as like best moments on a coaster go, that's up there.
Yeah. Number 2, Fury for 100. Hitting Fury as my 100th coaster. That was the night I met Jack. We cred ran and then hitting it at night. Super cool. It ended up being my number 1 directly after that, and then I rode it a few times the next day. Is it a number 1 right now? No, it's pretty high up there though. But that was definitely special because how crazy that night was in general, just running around, and then actually getting to do it last train of the night in front row. Very fun.
Yeah, that was a night. That one's gonna be on my list too. So number 2 for me is the graduation ride. That was an insane day for me. Literally going from walking across the stage at my graduation, driving the 5 hours that actually ended up being 7 hours to get to Holiday World and ride the Voyage in my cap and gown with Chris and all of our friends behind us. It was an amazing night.
I didn't know they were there, but
yeah, they were there. Yeah, I honestly didn't know how many of them were behind us either. But it was an amazing night just as a whole at the park, hanging out with everyone. But that ride was something special, and yeah.
Shout out Voyage, it's amazing.
And shout out to Holiday World for making that happen for us.
Yes, thank you for the certificates. Number 1 is my first rod ride. Now, I don't think Jack would have thought that this would have been as high as it was. He's seen the video of my first time walking up to it. This was, I don't think I've had a hype for a new coaster match how hype I was for Lightning Rod. And a big reason because of that is because at the time I only had like 50 credits. I was ready to get out of Florida and over Georgia and go ride some of the big boy stuff. I had a whole world of new coasters to ride. It's not as quite as big as that anymore, but I had a whole new world of rides. That was the first one of all those big hyped rides for me. My most anticipated, the first ride of my first ever coaster trip, and it was absolutely insane. This was before it got neutered to death. It was absolutely fantastic. There's definitely watered eyes walking up to it. You could see it in the video. So
I've seen the video multiple times, and it never makes it like just makes me happy seeing it because it's like I remember doing that for the first time. And while I put it at 10 for me, it's a lot of that's because it is at my home park, and so the memory is not as strong as it could be. But yeah, the walking up the rod, walking in the jukebox junction, still every once in a while I'll walk in, I'm like, yeah, this is pretty epic right here. So, and okay, number one for me is our front row night ride on Fury for your 100th coaster. It's been 3 years now, and it still sticks out to me as one of the most amazing nights ever. First of all, we cred ran that park insane. And then also it just means a lot because that is where our friendship started. And looking back on it, we wouldn't be doing this podcast without it. And there's a lot of awesome things that have come out of that. So as far as like best ride experiences go, that front row night ride on Fury is probably always going to be my number one.
And it's Fury.
And it's Fury, and it's insane at night.
Yes, it's just amazing in general. So there we have it. That was it. Bryant, thanks for the idea.
Yeah, that was actually
he has his own list.
Yeah, he does have his own list. And yeah, that was actually a really fun idea. I get to talk about not as much like what's our favorite, but all of our favorite memories at parks. So,
well, does that do it?
I think that does. So, of course, you want to make sure you're following us on social media. Twitter is at Twisted Traveler, but the R at the end is a 1. Instagram at Twisted_Travelers. And then you're going to want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Thrilling Moment. Chris?
And follow me at Twisted Travelers Chris on Instagram. Follow Bryant, Allison's book, Discord, Patreon. Everything's in the description. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week with a guest. Be sure
with a guest. We're going to actually have a guest next week. So, yeah.
Yes.
Thank y'all for listening. Bye.
The end.
Thanks for listening to the Twisted Travelers Podcast.